If you ask yourself, why am I here? What is my purpose? How can I fulfill my potential? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Lifestyle, Relationships, and Career Human Design Podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Naja from vanessanaja.com. My mission is to help you be on purpose and fulfill your potential by aligning in body, mind, and spirit so you can feel empowered, joyful, connected, and free. I'm so excited to share with you how to do that through human design. If it feels aligned, I'd love it if you subscribe and share. Now let's get to the episode. It's always a good idea to have your human design chart with you when listening. You can get yours for free at my website, vanessanaja.com/free chart. Link is in the show notes.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 28. Today, we are going to be talking about what all of those numbers mean on your human design chart. And there are a lot of numbers, and that might feel overwhelming to some of you, but I will clear that up for you. And don't worry, there is no math involved on your part whatsoever. This is just to give you an idea of what those numbers are and also prepare you for upcoming episodes. In order to understand the numbers, we have to understand the influence of the Chinese I-Ching on the human design system. The Chinese I-Ching is an ancient system. It is over 3,000 years old, and it is very, very influential on the human design system. The I-Ching is made up of 64 archetypal energies. And an archetype, you can think of this as a universal pattern. It's a theme that resonates with all of humanity, often on an unconscious level, and it can influence our thinking, our feelings, and our behavior. And archetypes, there are lots and lots of different ones. I'll just give some examples. You can think of the mother, the father, the hero, the queen, the general, the heretic, the sage, the authority. These are all different types of archetypes. And we all have access to them in some way or another. And they bring us all together in a certain way because we can all access them. The Chinese I-Ching, so if you think about these 64 different archetypes, when you look at an I-Ching hexagram, so each of these 64 is made up of a hexagram. And a hexagram is a combination of 6 lines stacked on top of each other. Each of these 6 lines can be either solid or broken. And when you take these 6 lines in their combination, they could be all solid, they could be all broken, or they can be a combination. There are 64 possibilities. For those of you that are watching, I'm going to be screen sharing. And if you are listening, it's a great idea to have your human design chart. Any chart will do. Yours is ideal. And I will do my best to explain this so you can follow along where the numbers are on the chart. When you think, so most people are very familiar with their sun sign in astrology, and this is also an archetypal energy. I will give a little caveat. I'm going to be talking about some planetary placements, and I will include things that are not technically planets, like the sun, which is a star, or the moon, which is an asteroid of the Earth. These are not planets. However, in the human design system, we are going to talk about these as planetary placements. When you think about your astrological sign, in my case, I'm a Leo. I was born right as the sun entered Leo. That is an archetypal energy. And in astrology, the way this is determined is that even though technically we are moving around the sun, when we look at the sky, it looks like the sun is moving around us. And it is in the backdrop of certain constellations which are associated with the 12 signs of the zodiac. The sun spends about 1 month in each sign, and that is what determines your sun sign, where the sun was at the time that you were born. So again, in my case, it was in the sign of Leo. At the time of this recording, it is in the sign of Aquarius, and very shortly it will be moving into the sign of Pisces. The sun is not our only placement. It's just the most significant one. However, we have additional planetary placements depending on where that planet was at the time of your birth. In human design, we do not use the zodiac signs like in astrology. We actually use the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. So rather than 1 in 12 possibilities, like there is in astrology, there's actually 1 in 64 possibilities for each one of these planetary placements. So each one, there's one of 64 possible archetypes that each of these planetary placement occupies in your human design chart. When you're looking at the chart, you're going to see a set of numbers on the right side. Then they're grouped with astrological glyphs. So for example, the sun on most charts looks like a circle with a dot in it. And in your human design chart, it's always the very top one. And then you will see a total of 13 of these down the right side. With these astrological glyphs, you're going to see a number between 1 and 64, followed by a decimal point, and then another number between 1 and 6. You may also have, there might be numbers beyond that. If you're looking at a really advanced chart, we're not going to talk about any of those. You want to really just think about the number between 1 and 64, that first decimal point, and the number between 1 and 6. On the left side of your human design chart, you also have another 13 planetary placements. And again, each one of them is going to have a number between 1 and 64, decimal point, a number between 1 and 6. When we go, so this gives you a lot of differentiation. And remember, human design is the science of differentiation. We have 64 hexagrams, 64 possible archetypes for each planetary placement in your chart. And then we have 6 further nuances, which gives you a total of 384 possibilities for every single one of your planetary placements. And remember, in human design, you have the conscious placements, which are on the right side of the chart, and the unconscious placements on the left side. And if you didn't listen to last week's episode, I go more into what that means, conscious versus unconscious. But there are 26 placements in your human design chart, and each single one of those placements has a possibility of 384 distinctions. So the first number, 1 through 64, is going to be the hexagram that was highlighted by that particular planetary placement at the time of your birth. If it's on the right side, if it's on the left side, 88 days or so before you were born. Again, I talk about all of this last week's episode 27, if you want to know more about that. Then we have the decimal point and the number 1 through 6. Those numbers are, so remember, a hexagram has 6 lines. And the 6 numbers indicate which one of those 6 lines the planetary placement was highlighting. So remember, I said it's one of 384 possibilities. So it was in a specific hexagram, and to even further nuance it down in a specific line of that hexagram. I'm going to translate this into language that makes a little bit more sense. So you can think about, in human design, wherever the placement of whatever planet we're looking at was in your chart, that activates a gate. And I will show you what that looks like on your body graph shortly. You can think of a gate like a trait. This is a trait. When you have a gate or a trait defined, and in BG5, the business application of human design, we call these traits. So we're using more practical language. When you have this trait defined, this is something that this is a part of you. This is energy that you have pretty consistently. And depending on where in your chart it is, what the planetary placement is, you're going to express it in different areas of your life. So for example, the sun, the conscious sun, this is a huge part of who you are. In my personal example, my conscious sun is in gate 56. And this is the archetype of the wanderer or the storyteller. This is somebody that shares from their personal experience what they've gone through, ideally to help others, to help the collective, from the lessons that they've learned. Now we have those additional 6 lines. So if you look at my chart, which I'm sharing, it's 56.5. So the sun was in the 5th line of the 56 gate or trait at the time of my birth. You can think of the lines as further nuances. In BG5, we call the lines qualities. So it was in the 5th quality of the 56. And the 5th line is a practical problem solver. So one of the things that I do is that I use my experiences, the things I've learned, my stories to provide practical solutions for other people. I do this through human design. When you look at a human design chart, it's really telling a story of archetypal energy. So using storytelling to provide practical solutions for other people. This is a big part of what my conscious sun is about. And again, because there's 26 different placements, this becomes very, very nuanced in your chart and makes you completely different from anybody else out there. And this is just, the surface level of it. I don't remember the exact number, but the actual possibilities of the different combinations you can have in a human design chart has, I think, 59 actual place. Like, it's a number that has 59 numbers in it. I don't even know anybody that would know how to say a number that big, but let's just say like it's practically infinite. And there's no one ever been alive like you before, and there never will be again. You are completely unique. Let's talk about how these numbers show up to form your body graph. When you look at your body graph, you see the 9 geometric shapes, which are the human design centers, and we went over each one of those in previous episodes. Each one of those 9 shapes is going to have anywhere from 3 to 11 numbers on it. So, for example, if you look at the head center, we've got 64, 61, and 63. Every single one of those centers has numbers around it, and these are the numbers of the hexagrams, the 64 hexagrams. They never change. They're always in the same configuration around of each body graph. What does change is which ones are highlighted for you or not. So, for example, in my chart, you'll see that gate 56 is highlighted. It's defined. There was a planetary placement in 56 at the time of my birth, a very significant one, which is the sun. So it is defined. When you have the gates activated so 2 gates activated that form a channel. So, for example, here you can see the 34 coming out of the sacral center and the 20 coming out of the throat center. Both of those were activated in my chart in the unconscious side. Together, they form a channel. And a channel, it's like a strength. That's what we call it in BG5. This is energy you have consistent access to. That is one of your strengths. And anytime you have a channel defined, the 2 centers at the end of the channel are also defined. So this is what creates your definition in the chart. And then, of course, depending what centers you have to find and what they're connected to, that's going to create your type. All right, that is a summary of what all of these numbers mean in the chart. Going back to the number after the decimal point, 1 through 6, the numbers that are next to your conscious sun, so at the very top on the right and the left, in my case, it's 5 and 1, create your human design profile. And I'm going to go into detail into this in the next episodes. Profile is a very significant part of who you are, and you will notice when you look at your chart or when you hear people talking about their human design, they often introduce themselves with their profile, their authority, and their type. So in my case, I am a 5-1 emotional manifesting generator. My profile is a 5-1. My authority is emotional. My type is a manifesting generator. We're going to go into all the details of what this means in the next episode. Your profile is a huge, huge part of who you are and how you fulfill your purpose in life. So this is information you definitely want to know and understand about yourself in order to get the most out of your human design. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening and watching.
If you want to dive deeper, I invite you to get a free human design mini reading report at vanessanaja.com/free mini reading, or book a human design reading with me. Links are in the show notes. That's it for today's episode. I know your time is important, and I'm so grateful you chose to spend it with me. It would mean the world to me if you engage with the episode by liking, subscribing, commenting, and letting me know any questions you have or what else you'd like to learn about. And the absolute best compliment is if you share with someone you think will benefit. It really helps me spread the message. Love and blessings to you.